joined investment banking in 91, Harshad Mehta came on the scene.
Harshad Shantilal Mehta.
Big move.
In India, we see that Fintech companies are burning money for 5-10 years.
Yeah.
In India, we tend to support and glorify founders too much.
Exactly.
I think that should disappear.
Customer want us to understand them rather than we understanding our process and system. Actually, and that is where we have to align our thought process.
Gen Zs is the next powerhouse. They're going to do some crazy amount of stuff. There is a very famous Rajnikant dialogue, it's in Tamil, which I always tell my team and my friends and all. Kashtapadame edum kadikadu.
Kashtapadame kadikiradu.
Yennikum nilikadu. What it means is,
Hello everyone, welcome to our channel Impactables with Rishav. Today we have Vaibhav Tambe, founder of TransBnk. Welcome Vaibhav to our channel.
hi, thanks Rishav. Hi everyone.
So I'll start with this. Definitely people can know about TransBnk and you online, it's available over there. 2 years ago, I heard about a particular statement made by you that UPI on Transaction Banking. So can you please throw some highlight on that? What's about that particular thing?
So yeah, I think in a very interesting podcast, we discussed about how UPI actually has changed the image of India. Where we always looked at, the tech outsourcing or maybe technology powerhouse, right? But UPI was something which was built in India and it actually exported in most of the other geographies. People look at Indian UPI infrastructure as one of the core, infrastructure, and we are of course the leaders now in real-time payments because of that, right? And the world looks at us, right? So there's something to be proud of, and that was the reason, and that was the technically vision which became into our revolution of forming TransBnk. So we wanted to create something like that in transaction banking. Transaction banking essentially covers a broader perspective of all the business transactions, including payments, right? And we also wanted to create something like that. And of course, that was the revolution statement for us. And yeah, we started working on that. It was a very early podcast.
Yeah, interesting fact. But also, while I was reading about TransBnk, because I've been knowing TransBnk for so long, like from inception, the interesting fact was what I was reading, that TransBnk people were seeing or using as a term called escrows. But down the line, I have seen that there are multiple offerings, multiple infrastructure is coming through in all the across. So can you throw light across what is this escrows, how this functionality works, and what's the main motive behind how we evolve as an entire platform of TransBnk?
Yeah. So I think, I don't know why, but there was a, image that, we have the escrow platform. We of course had multiple transaction banking platforms, and some of the interesting use cases we had built were around escrows, which got popular for some reason because one of the large bank actually had done a media release at that point of time. But we were never an escrow platform company. We were always a transaction banking infrastructure. Of course, in the domain of escrow, we are one of the leading players. We have more than 10,000 real escrow accounts in the platform, and almost all the anchors in India are there in our platform. So we are almost like a monopoly player in that space. The only thing is, when we were in the bank and till the time a lot of regulations come in, which we always anticipated to come, there were some structures around virtual account which became very, very popular, and you would have heard.
I'll pause you over here. So this virtual account, so I keep hearing from these people like across Bangalore mostly.
Yeah.
Because we see B2C, Fintech, I see most of the companies are here. You also agree with this?
Yeah.
They tell about this interesting fact that I cannot open a escrow account, it's taking me 30 days, 1 month. And suddenly someone is opening a virtual account which is coming, like one person having 10 accounts.
So there's a word called as cardinal sin, right? So there's nothing called as virtual account, virtual escrow. This is all probably stopped now. What I hear from market, I mean, we never vouched or we never even thought about supported something like this, right? Escrows is like a very, very Bible kind of a thing, right? It's a most sacrosanct thing in the banking, right? You cannot ridicule it by using virtual accounts, right? You can use some use cases of virtual accounts on top of it, but that's very limited where you know the source of the truth and you know KYC, AML, right? Mm-hmm. So we were always of the opinion that no matter amount of energy or efforts it takes, you have to solve this bank by bank. So there's nothing called as virtual account or virtual escrow or e-escrow, right? You have to open the real escrow account. Of course, you can work hard on cutting down the documentation, right? Digitizing the flows, standardizing templates, reducing the friction in the KYC, right? Reducing the friction in the communication between two parties in the escrow. There are 2 or 3 or multiple parties in the escrow. But the element of virtual account was totally a cardinal sin, right? And that's what we were against from day one, right? And it solved a lot of these use cases initially, but now most of the use cases are back in the real world, right? It's like CBDC versus fiat, right? It's like that. So you have to open the real escrow in the use cases where you want, be it lease rental discounting, be it capital markets. So my advice to all the young entrepreneurs is don't even think about this. Go to your bank, talk to them. They would tell you that, this is how the business is being done, right? You can always, innovate something out of thin air, but that may not be compliant, especially in the BFSI world. And when we were building TransBnk, the compliance was the first most important point. More than ease of, growing or more than scale, our first motto has always been compliance.
Okay. Talking about the compliance now, we'll be deep downing more about TransBnk down the series. But talking about the compliance as a whole, in India, like mostly when I speak to most of the fintech early stage startups, or might be mid stage, or once they grew a lot, they complain about the fact that RBI or SEBI is stopping us to do certain things. Like they are not that flexible. They are not giving us compliant. They are taking a lot of time. So what's your take on this? Like what resistance is there from the RBI or SEBI or any regulatory bodies in order to implement this in the market? Or why startups always keep on complaining about these particular factors?
So let me tell you, after traveled so much globally, I think all Indian regulators are one of the most flexible and extremely approachable and great set of guys. I'm not saying that because I work with them or in the past I have worked with them. I'm not a regulated entity. I don't want to please them, but I have seen the way they interact with fintechs. And remember, they're not there to support some random idea. They have to also support the institutional values and of course the core economy, the strength of the BFSI vertical. They have to prevent frauds, right? In my opinion, they're doing phenomenally great job. They've opened so much of door. You can look at Regulatory Sandbox. Startups, as I said, they would look at gray area and try to go to the gray area. Don't go to the gray area. If there's a black and white, go for white. And of course, you wouldn't know what is white, then you go to banks or you go to regulators. They'll help you out. The Regulatory Sandbox by RBI was exactly the same thing. But people just want to there's a saying in Bangalore, unfortunately, throw the money at the problem. It doesn't work. You have to look at something which is fundamentally right. So, in my opinion, and in most of the people in my circle, we think that they are doing a great job. A lot of people say that, okay, they have this problem, that problem. They have this problem because you guys have made them to think about the models what you have created, right? You have tried to, create a loophole and use that loophole. Don't do that.
Talking about the bank, from this particular piece, it's always the tendency or the mindset is there that bank takes a lot of time. Like today, if I'm going to a bank to do a partnership or to get any kind of a transaction done, to get an account open or say suppose like escrow account open, everyone says that it takes a lot of time. So can you throw some light, why does it take and how TransBnk is solving it in the longer run?
See, again, because most of us are bankers and most of our team is also from banking background. And from day one, we are very clear, look, technology is not only available to you as a fintech or startup, right? Even banks have, amazing set of technology. It's just that banks have a lot of priority items, right? They have to take care of their core business of lending, treasury management, a lot of other stuff they do in terms of and they're an institution in itself, right? So, and when I was a banker, I was one of the very, very few guys in my bank to support and to work very closely with most of the startups and fintechs. I used to get a lot of resistance from my, peers and senior management, but I always appreciated the hustle of entrepreneurship and everything what we have, right? But But you cannot just simply go and say, okay, look, your technology is obsolete or your APIs are not working, you're not supporting. Look, they have hundreds of things to do. They're not basically set up a bank branch or bank for supporting a new age fintech, right? Of course, they want to. They are working hard, and SBI has also set up startup branches. They've been doing some crazy work to help the ecosystem out. You take help of that. We have been so fortunate. We work with 60 plus banks today, and it's banks which is building us. We are not helping the banks, right? Banks have been incredible in terms of energy and also in terms of stack, right? And some of our partner banks, HDFC, crazy technology. You just need to have patience. You need to respect. You have to talk to them in the manner that they will understand. You can't just go and tell them, look, I want this TPS, right? It's not possible for the bank to just go to their board and take the overnight approval, right? It is not that, again, throwing money at the problem. It doesn't work, right? So we've been extremely fortunate. We work with 60 banks. Banks have been crazy and incredibly supportive for us. So and usually they come up with so many fascinating ideas for us to build.
So you talk about 60 banks. Can you just throw some light or tell us a bit about what does TransBank does as an overall for now? Because obviously, again, as I said, it can be found on the internet, but everything cannot be found on the internet.
No, we've been glad that we have marketing, experts like you. So the message we wanted to share, we have shared to whom, but we haven't really opened what we do, everything to the world. And of course, our core thesis from day one was absolutely intact. It is, and that's what you'll find in the media. We always wanted to democratize transaction banking. We wanted to ensure that the last bank on the street also would be able to compete with the best bank globally, right? So we wanted to democratize transaction banking. There are a lot of product lines into transaction banking, including account payables, account receivable, treasury management, supply chain finance, trade, right? So there was no such vertical, stack which was available for at the, merchant side to explore. And again, because we were so fortunate that all the banks supported us, wholeheartedly, and they came up with so innovative ideas, and I'm thankful to people like Yes Bank, Transaction Banking Head, IDFC Transaction Banking Head, my own IndusInd Bank, and of course every bank on the street has been helping. And of course this is just, I always tell my team, look, this world is so large, we are not even scratching the tip of the iceberg, right? Scratching the surface of the tip of the iceberg. Imagine the scale we have globally, right? Imagine the problem what we're solving is nothing today. While we are growing at a crazy 35% month-on-month growth, we are still not there in terms of scratching the surface of the tip of the iceberg. Simple.
So what's the current stage like where you guys are like as a TransBank or as a company? I remember it's been 2.5 years as of now. 2.5 years approx since we started. I personally see a lot of buzz because obviously I do keep following you, TransBank, and all the key stakeholders in the company.
See, I think we are very happy that the buzz is positive and they talk about trust and integrity. I don't know what other people talk about, the other people in the competition, because we are never really bothered about competition from day one, right? And when I was a banker, I never saw any of these banks as competition. We used to actually provide solutions to all the banks, right? As an IndusInd Bank, and we used to take services from the larger 3 banks, right? So I always worked in the collaborative way. And that's what I was always propagating. Look, there's no competition. Why do we have to compete with each other when we can coexist, right? Exactly. And today, most of our large clients are the payment aggregators and PPIs and fintechs, right? So the idea is work on a collaborative way, make something like UPI for the world. And I mean, if you talk about the vision statement and all, we are never really bothered about the other aspects of the funding and all, right? We are always bothered about probably going to 100 countries in next 10 years. Because this is where the real fun is. We are always complacent by nature or by, whatever history we have. Why can't we go in 100 countries and build this infrastructure in 100 countries? UPI is actually looking at that, kind of a crazy expansion, right? It's going to happen. Even if you accept or not, it's going to happen, right? So we want to similarly create the same impact. We are already on that path. And hopefully with a lot of good partners in collaboration with, the great banking ecosystem and the fintech ecosystem in India, we will definitely get there.
You mentioned IndusInd name several times. So what's your particular take or the journey with the IndusInd Bank? Because I know personally you have been working for...
it's been crazy. I mean, I think a lot of times what I tell my team also, and most of them are from Indus, that we actually could go to this level because of the bank. I mean, and including SBI. I mean, I started my career with State Bank of India. It was a phenomenal learning ground. And of course, IndusInd actually, that bank actually gave us a lot of freedom, and then they also, kind of created the environment where people could grow, right? Usually what happens in banking ecosystem is there is no, visibility in terms of, and I'm very thankful to my, bosses. I'm not saying it, they know that we have discussed this multiple times. I think we all have learned so much from them in terms of, how to, build teams, how to grow these teams. And these teams are for life, right? Most of the guys are there. Probably they may work with TransBank or they may not work with TransBank. They are sometimes bankers of TransBank. They are sometimes distributing TransBank. Sometimes they are not even linked to TransBank, but they are still my team. And that we could build because of the culture what the bank has, right? Whatever said and done, a lot of this, success is actually of our background, right? And of course, my other two co-founders, I worked with several other banks. Yes Bank is another, phenomenal training ground. ICICI Bank has, of course, produced some great leadership. We are not leaders. We are just starting. We are like probably a bunch of kids on the block. But I think ICICI Bank, Mr. KV Kamath proved that formula. I mean, if you look at most of the bank, IDFC First Bank or most of the other small finance bank or large NBFCs, those are being headed by ex-ICICI guys. And I think that was what probably has, that was what probably made a difference. The entire team of KV Kamath of ICICI Bank, probably leading most of the large organizations today. That actually kind of proved the thesis to an extent, and it helped us to then build a thesis. We are always learners. We are always learning. We are always, when I watch a movie, I learn. When I'm talking to you, I'm learning, right? That's what we do all the day.
We are talking about the bank as a whole. There's a common meme circulating in the market, like PSU Bank or SBI or any kind of government bank, you go say ki lunch ke baad aana. So this particular fact, or how you as a banker, for being a decade person working in a bank, seeing the other people over there, how do you guys take that particular thing?
Look, I think there are two ways, right? Honestly, if you look at the profits, you pick up any of these quarters and look at the profits what these banks make, right? So when you are the outsider and when you don't understand what's really happening inside, one way to deal with that is to actually make fun of it, right? And I know how hard these people work. I know how the structures of these PSU banks are. They have such a great training institution. The guy actually kind of goes to each and every function in his career span across 20-25 years. So the guy is tremendously well, what you can say, capital, not capital is the right word, but the guy is actually very mature leader, right? So they know.
So interesting facts, like obviously understood about the market, transaction banking, TransBank, but still there are several use cases in the market. Like we understand that today a fintech is building something, or any particular industry actually, because fintech is that particular segment in any other sector is a supporting segment which I talk about. Since I am running a company in Pixel, we need payouts, KYC, again fintech products. Any other company needs any of the certain piece of it. Can you explain us some of the use cases, major use cases, which is clubbing the banks and any other company along with you guys, how this structure works, and some one or two use cases around it?
See, let me simplify for everyone, right? And maybe people can understand the relatability with UPI because we have all lived in the UPI era, right? What UPI does essentially today, it actually fetches your real-time balance from respective banks. It gives you the real-time account statements, right? You're able to make a payment. You're able to make a payout or kind of a payable function, and you're able to receive money from your friends, from your wallet, from your merchant store, right? And then of course you're able to lien mark your account like IPO investments, and then you're able to remove lien when the IPO investments happen, successful or failed.
The amount gets blocked.
And then of course, so the UPI is basically the foundation layer, right? Now on that foundation layer, you could have built information access, right? Where you are able to, pull balances and everything, show it on a particular thing, right? You're able to build payments. You're able to build lending, credit on UPI. You're able to build underwriting, right? It's a foundation layer, right? So the use cases of UPI or the solutions built on UPI are quite large, right? Now, similarly, on the business side, fortunately or unfortunately, UPI is of course massive infrastructure for retail payments, right? Now come to the business payments, right? Same problem statements, right? So you would have multiple bank accounts, you would require access, you would have to build analytics, early warning signals, dashboard, right? You would have to make salary payouts, vendor payouts, disbursements, lot of payouts, right? You mentioned you have to collect the money, right? But typically when it is B2C, if the complexity is X, a lot of times people say the complexity over here is probably 16x because there is an aspect of reconciliation. Marrying the information with the information system you have like LOS, LMS or ERPs, right? Now, how do we marry that? Right? That's why you need reconciliation, because one is your payment or transaction information, second is your bank account statement, and third is your, the core system where your data entries have happened, Zoho, Tally and all. People don't understand this concept, right? People are just creating rails for business payment. It will not work unless you solve the fundamental issue of reconciliation, right? So we've done that from day one. Our architecture is microservices best, where we are able to do this beautifully and smoothly across all products, right? So I don't tell my customer that, look, we don't have this product, right? My customer requires UPI autopay. We have UPI autopay across multiple banks. If they want BBPS, we have BBPS. If they want NASH, we have NASH. If they want payouts, we have all modes of payout, right? If they want bank account validation, we have bank account validation. So we have built these rails brick by brick, going to every 1500 APIs.
So breaking
in 60 banks.
Interesting.
And by the way, this is only after burning, and I'm very bad about that, less than $1 million. We're going to recover that. I mean, of course, we are profitable, like our every month profit is more than that, but this is all built by spending less than $1 million.
So now you guys are profitable as we speak today.
Yeah. Feb was the first month, and of course now we are hugely profitable.
Because that's a very interesting and like amazing landmark, because in India we see ki fintech companies are burning money for 5-10 years.
Yeah.
And then they are
Fortunately, we are not fintech. We are a technology company. We're happy to be TSP, DSA, whatever you call it. We don't want to call it ourselves fintech. We are not competing with banks. We are enabling banks, right? We are enabling NBFCs. We don't want to call ourselves fintech at any point of time. It's TransBank Solutions Private Limited. It is not fintech.
So you mentioned certain words actually, because it might be new for several audience, like LOS, LMS, all these typical words actually. Mostly we don't hear this because people hear UPI, that's it. I'm transferring money to you, it's done. But back end, lot many other things. Can you explain these certain words?
So what happens in business, of course, is if you're a lender, or let's say if you are a corporate, right? You have to store this information and then again reconcile everywhere, right? So they have loan origination system or loan management system where the data about the borrower, his bank account, multiple data points are there. And we have some great ecosystem again in terms of the players in the India where they have built phenomenally good LOS, LMS systems. So that's where the data resides. That's where the calculations happen, underwriting happens, and also the disbursements are originated from that. It is more like a subset of an ERP. ERP is the ideally right word for the corporates and other business use cases, right? You'll have SAP or maybe Zoho, Tally. I mean, these are like these days these are getting popular. ERP Next, Odoo. That's where the information gets processed, stored, and then people use that for the CRM or customer relationship management. Most of the times, the fintech world actually forgot about them. But from day one, we were very clear that, boss, they are the one who are again having massive amount of data and power. So we collaborated with them.
So interesting fact from here. So like we talk about reconciliation, like it's a very pain point. I know that because larger enterprises or larger companies, be it the NBFCs, banks or any lenders actually, majorly NBFCs which I have seen, they have several number of accounts.
Yes.
Like right from, and they open accounts at different banks.
Yes.
That's the major thing I have seen. They don't open, if they have 10 accounts, it will be in 10 banks mostly.
Yeah.
To bifurcate the money, lot many other things.
Correct.
So like, is there any solution at TransBank technology where we have this reconciliation method across multiple banks to simplify this process for any particular enterprise?
No, of course. I mean, as I said, fundamentally, all our products are built with the recon first approach, right? And fortunately, Laveen Kotian, who is my co-founder and CTO, he was again working with one of the large recon company back then in 2003, 2007. Those days, he spent like considerable number of years as Aditya Birla Capital IT head, focusing on this product. So for us, from day zero, recon was the most important product. So we solved that problem of marrying the information at these 3 different levels. So of course, we solved that. We don't really push that product as a core product offering. It's an embedded offering for us right now, because of course we have our own priorities, and we are technically a new kid on the block, 2.5 years hardly. So we, of course, we would be happy to partner. And these are all, I think the way we have imagined our infrastructure stack is whichever are the fund. Like for example, AI, right? There's no point of building the LLM, because fundamentally most of the guys have done a great amount of work in spending like OpenAI and DeepSeek or Sarvam. There's another company in India. So we would always leverage technology. We don't want to build our own cloud, of course, right? So these are fundamental things. So maybe we can partner with somebody who's great in recon at the later stage, and then we can have that as a distribution strategy. Right now, we are very clear that our products have inbuilt recon engines, right, which will take care of the MI and dashboards. So I don't want to say that we solve the recon problem of the ecosystem. We can, but right now the focus is building the network. Right now the focus is on actually putting these pieces together, and then at some point of time, of course, we can leverage these fundamental stacks like AI, and we are actually using blockchain. We are using AI live use cases, and it's been crazy. I mean, the results are. I mean, those are like. These stacks actually are incredibly useful, but you have to know. You don't have to talk about it, right? People just talk about that AI and blockchain, and then they'll talk about it, and then they'll talk about it, and then they'll talk about it. We just implement, get the revenue, move on, right? We have so much to do, and we're happy about it. We're not sad about it.
So all these things definitely doesn't happen in a day, in a month, or in a year, which I understand, because it takes lot of time. For you, I believe you have been working over a decade actually in banks. Similarly, a majority of the team members I saw are also over a decade plus experience in the bank. So how do you see what's the right team to execute this, and what's the efficient way to execute this? Because what happens, people think mostly that I will hire 5 years experienced guy, 10 folks in a company, and I can become $1 million company, for example, or in terms of revenue.
Yeah.
So what's your take in terms of building this company, in terms of team members, and to increase the efficiency of people, so that with limited number of people, you are reaching to, say, suppose $10 million ARR or $50 million ARR in down the line?
Yeah, so by the way, we are still less than 100 employees, and we have touch wood, a great amount of energy. Fundamentally, and the maximum amount of time I spend, apart from talking to banks, and is to build a team, right? Good part is, again, I was fortunate enough to, get into these leadership roles pretty early in my career. Most of the places I have been there. One thing which I've realized, it's all about your team, right? Whatever you say about your idea, product, technology, investors, it's all about your team. It's all about interperson. And people who have worked with me, fortunately, will always work for me wherever, in whatever city they are. They're like my all sleeper cells. That at some point of time, the day they feel that they are not really happy in their current role, they're going to reach out and I'm going to hire them, because I've built this team in a very, very structured manner, right? I've always looked at the guy rather than a job description, right? There's no formula of building a team that I'll have 5 to 7 years of experienced guy for banking alliance. It doesn't work that way. You have to look for your team member who are excellent in that. So I agree, it's a trial and error method, but at least we've been doing that for years, right? I've been doing that team building exercise for years, right? So I know somebody who was with me in 2010 in SBI, how good he is in a particular function, right? And then we don't have a problem of hierarchies in TransBank or in our fintech, right? We don't have a problem that somebody would not report to somebody. Everybody is doing their own job. And what from day one I was very clear is, I want this entire senior management, the ex-CXOs of banks, transaction banking heads of banks, because they add tremendous value in terms of compliance and the regulations, right? Respect for regulations, right? Some of us, some of our advisory board members are great in that validation of idea, and they have, again, most of them have, a great sense of passion and commitment and energy at this age also. So hats off to them. And then of course we have the the complete body of all confused people like us who don't know what to do. And then we have Gen Zs, and Gen Zs have been great at execution. I mean, you throw a problem at them, they'll solve like this, right? So we have actually a great mix of all the three levels of people. It's difficult to build an organization like that, but because we were very clear fundamentally that this is how we are going to build. And from here, when we are expanding, we don't have to expand too many people in the team. We'll of course have a great advisory board member. The leverage which they bring, the network which they bring is tremendous. And I don't have to worry about reaching out to a particular bank in any geography today. One of my advisory board has actually served 300 banks globally. So he can just call up a particular bank and tell me, look, this Vaibhav is there, he wants to talk to you, right? And that's how it works today, right? So a very, very strong advisory board at the top. That's why, by the way, MCA, the corporate affairs team had suggested independent directors or directors.
Non-executive directors.
This is the real reason, and we realized it pretty early in our journey. And I always had my mentors. There's one is this formal advisors. Second, in my mind, I know there are these 5 or 6 mentors of mine, and we keep on discussing. They don't have any official investment or anything to do with TransBank, right? They are sometimes these are some of the bank MDs. I don't want to name them at this forum, but I keep on discussing my problem statements with them. So I have a virtual board in my mind where there are these mentors, right? It's a very complex thing. It looks very easy when I say that, but it's a very complex thing to build something like that. And then of course, what is easier to build is Gen Z, the force which we are now building. Oh, they're crazy. They understand AI. We don't understand AI. They understand blockchain, we don't understand blockchain, right? So what we need to just ensure that they respect the process and they respect the hustle, right? They respect the entire energy, formula that, your small change in your energy will result into a multiple, the derivatives concept, right? That's what we do in the inductions or their trainings. That, I think most of the people now know Nimish, they call him acting CEO, right? I hired him without taking an interview because I just looked at his profile. I could see that, look, this guy is doing multitasking at this age, right? And probably managing your academics, managing the extracurricular activities, and managing some business in parallel. So it's something which probably only Gen Zs can do. And you just have to look for these guys. And then these guys, we have to teach them how the delegation happens. And the moment they start delegating, there is a massive network effect in terms of talent management. We are fortunate enough to have a great CHRO. We were again fortunate enough to have her early in the startup. You rarely get such a person. So Srishti brings all this structure and fundamental things, foundation. So I think because we are domain heavy, we've got the best lawyers in the country, the best HR in the country, we have them with us, right? Fortunate, lucky.
So all these factors leads towards one common objective, increasing the revenue, and the revenue increases via sales. So many companies which I personally have seen, and the difference what I have seen with TransBank from my eyes actually, that they keep on running multiple ads to acquire leads and then they try to convert them into sales. I never seen an ad of TransBank in any of the platform, or I've seen them in the events actually. Obviously that's a large events, it needs to be there, but in terms of that sales part, how the team is efficient enough to crack that, to increase the month-on-month growth. I see around like 30 to 35 month growth. So that is very tremendous. So how that impacting?
So I think enterprise sales altogether is a different ball game. You cannot again throw money at the problem over here.
But people are doing it.
People do everything, right? People, I can't really comment on that. But the point is, the way we structured it is that product-led growth, right? And if your product is good, if you are solving the real problem, you don't need to really sell your product. I mean, for us, the sales conversation probably is a 20 minutes conversation talking about the weather. How is the weather? Oh, Bangalore weather is great. Mumbai weather is hot. Chennai weather is this and that. And then at the end of the day, we'll say, okay, look, you have this problem. We are solving them. This is how we can help you out. And again, most of the times what we do is we try and help them out in increasing their business. The idea is not to, not to actually give them a solution and then go away, right? We have to build them this long-term partnership. This is what has helped. So people who are our client in SBI days or IndusInd Bank days, they trust us because of that, right? We always help them to increase the business. So when we started building and by the way, prior to Series A, we did not have a sales team. I mean, it's all founder doing sales, right? Whatever. I mean, we could reach to that crazy level of 100 clients without any sales team. And now, of course, we have a good member team. But again, we've found these guys coming from a lending ecosystem, handling operations, handling products, doing great job in sales because they understand, they have empathy for the customer. The moment you do that, your customer is bound to give you business because they know that they're solving a problem, they have empathy, they are good people, they are trustworthy people. And then everything else just follows. And then that's how the enterprise businesses are built globally, right? Look at it. Of course, we have to build multiple products. We have to take a lot of pain, 1500 APIs again. And who knows, maybe 10,000 APIs. There are maybe 1,000 banks. We'll do that. It's the hard work. We'll do that hard work. But the moment product is great, you don't have to worry about the sales aspect. We have to worry about customer service aspect. We are again investing very heavily on customer service. We have been taking some of the senior seasoned MNC bankers and large private sector bankers. We are hiring them. And again, we are not worried about announcing our hires on the network because a lot of people don't do that because they feel that the poaching happens. It never happens in TransBank. You cannot poach a TransBank employee.
Yeah, I see completely like whenever someone gets hired, the post is there.
I'm happy to do that because they are not joining as I said, they're not joining a company. They're setting up a mission with us. So our hiring process that way ensures, we rarely see any exit. I mean, we have a great performance appraisal process and all. We take care of the employees. But even if you don't take care of them, they're happy to work there. We have a Saturday working where optionally people want to join. 70% people come on Saturday. Sometimes people want to come on Sunday also. But then I have to take some break. My team can work on Sundays also. Most of them.
So great learning from that particular thing because like at my company also people do work on Saturdays, people are sitting. So coming to that interesting fact, like you have been into Mumbai for all your life actually, I believe. You never went
A couple of years I was in Delhi.
Okay.
I'm happy about it.
But as a infra as a whole, technology and banking, if we talk about, we know that all the major banking and the super heads are like, or the senior folks are in Mumbai side. So how do you see the geographical infrastructure wise in terms of growth of any company while they are sitting across in different parts of India, like be it Delhi, Gurgaon, we consider as Delhi NCR, one is Mumbai and Bangalore. I think these three are the major ones which we
of course.
How do you see a company getting impacted via geographical locations?
See, if you're building the foundational or infrastructure stack like this, what we are building, you cannot be out anywhere else than Mumbai, right? I mean, you have a good infrastructure in terms of, the superb tech talent. Most of the tech companies have, huge number of offices in Mumbai. I mean, the area where I live, you have 5 lakh technology employees. Most of the banks will have back offices and technology offices in Mumbai. Most of data centers are there. So it's a very massive technology hub. People don't realize that. That's absolutely okay. Mumbai has a geographical constraint because almost on the 6-7 sides, like if you see there are 8 directions or 8 sides. Almost on 1/3 or 2/3 of the area you cannot go because there's the ocean, right? Or sea, Arabian Sea or the other things. So it can only grow to a certain extent, probably towards the new airport area, and that anyways is happening. But it is not about BFSI, right? There are so many other industries and so many in Bollywood and everything else. So the point is, Mumbai, of course, will always have the strategic, because it's a financial capital, it will always have strategic advantage because RBI is here, NPCI is here, most of the banks are here, all the mutual funds are here, insurance companies majorly are here, and a lot of other BFSI conglomerates are here. So you have to be here in terms of the building the infrastructure, right? Because another reason why we could build stack like TransBank, we could work with 60 banks because I'm there with this bank every day, right? I'm either in Bandra Kurla complex or Parel, right? Now, if you're building something from Bangalore or Delhi, like imagine the kind of efforts, time, energy, seeking an appointment. For me, I don't have to seek the appointment. I just make a simple message or call. Look, I'm here in your building. I'm having lunch in your cafeteria. Where are you? Right? Because I'm there with them. You can't solve that by taking a flight just for leisure and then, oh, look, I'm here in the cafeteria. If the guy is not in office, what are you going to do? For me, it is not even 10 rupees cost because I travel by local trains. It's efficient. It's faster.
So you are saying that, so you are going to stay in Mumbai only. So if you ever get to imagine a scenario, like if you're not started TransBank and you're working in a bank till today and you wanted to shift to another job. So you wanted to stay in Mumbai or you want
See,
to...
if you're working in a bank, you have to eventually come to Mumbai because entire bank senior management is in Mumbai. There's no senior management of any of the banks are in other cities. At least I'm talking about the domestic banks. So you have to be here. Unless, of course, there are like smaller banks like in Bangalore, there are 4-5 banks. In Chennai, there are 4-5 banks. But majority portion would be in Mumbai. So, of course, I couldn't think about going out of Mumbai. And I mean, when I was in tech, I had a chance to look at some of the other geographies. I've traveled a lot to US and other. Probably the opportunity and the energy the city brings, I don't think it is there anywhere in the world, I would say. So I love this place and most of the people from here love this place. There are some constraints in terms of infrastructure which are getting solved. It may get solved in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. But I think fundamentally this place for BFSI or fintech infra is and for India business, this is the hub. You can't really, not accept that fact because NPCI is also here. The Reserve Bank of India is also here. And of course, all the bank head offices are always here. And you cannot build a business by going to a branch of a particular bank. Right? It has to be at a senior or a registered head office level. Sooner you realize it's better, and it's not a secret sauce. I mean, a lot of time people actually don't reveal your secret sauce. It's not a secret sauce, it's general knowledge. But if you don't really accept the general knowledge and if you continue to live in your own utopian world, it's great for us.
So recently, like a few days back, like I saw your post, you went to Harvard. Like I believe every Indian, like who are studying or like whatever it is, they aim to go to Harvard. After 15 years of working, 10 to 15 years most around. So what made you go to Harvard? How did you went over there?
So first of all, I mean, I never had a dream about it also. I mean, there's something like you dream about, I want to start my own company. I want to buy a house, I mean, people will have like I want to build a bungalow, I never even had a dream about going to Harvard. I thought I'm not capable to have that kind of a dream. But yeah, I think this thing came up. I got an option. I got nominated by one of my, investor, and then I thought it would be a great learning experience, and it was indeed a great learning experience with around 38 to 40 countries. People were there from 38 to 40 countries. Around 78 or 80 of us. We had some great time for 10 days of talking about several aspects. Some great perspective on each geography, and of course the entire infrastructure of the Harvard campus and the course curriculum, the case study method was really great. And it was good 1 week break, which finally, this was like probably first ever 1 week break I got from my normal BAU. And of course, I learned a great deal of stuff, especially in the fintech world and financial inclusion world. So it was totally worth it. I would recommend now my team also to look at constructing some of these courses. It does help. Whether it really adds a value or not, I would say it adds a tremendous amount of value, right? Because sometimes your perspective and whatever we have discussed so far, you'll feel it's all about perspective. It's all about the direction, right? I think this was the one great outcome from this particular course.
So can you, talking about perspective, like when we speak with someone, when we see someone, everyone has their own point of view. We cannot change anyone's perspective as a whole. So, but when it comes to team perspective as a single individual, have you seen that the perspective got changed of someone while working with you in initial days and after 1 year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree to your point that perspective can be changed. Of course, you can change the perspective, of course. And that's what probably a great education and great peer learning offers. Right? That's where the institutions sometimes are also important, because sometimes you have a great peer learning group and you change your perspective, right? I mean, it's a collective wisdom, of course, but we have to, of course, make a conscious effort to create that kind of a collective wisdom, and you can achieve that. As I said, in your organization, in my organization, why people want to work on weekends and bank holidays is because of that perspective, change in perspective, right? Did you enjoy going to school on Saturday and Sunday? No, right? I did, but very few people did, right? My perspective was, oh, there's such a great thing to learn. I mean, and as I said, I'm always constantly learning. So maybe that's the perspective I want my team to have. Somebody sometimes says that, "Oh, I know everything." I said, "Whoa, then you're a great fit for this organization. Please." I don't want somebody who knows. I mean, of course, somebody cannot claim that I know everything about anything, because there's so much deep knowledge. I mean, I don't even know 0.00001% of the transaction banking or payments. I mean, if you ask me, there's so much to learn. And that's the approach I want teams to have.
So it's been 10, 15 years you're working, but still you are very inclined towards learning and you are very energetic, I see always. Like people tend to lose that energy. I have seen personally. I've seen so many people after 10 years ki haan, bas stagnant life, I will live a stagnant life now. So what made you drive so much, and what make you think that this much efforts I'm going to put and this much results I'm going to get? So that, can you put something around this one?
See, as I said, as I said, when I look at probably when I watch a movie at Netflix, I learn something out of it, right? And that's what, and it's so much fun to interact with people, right? If I don't do this, what will I do? I mean, my energy source is the people, right? I mean, every time I meet somebody new, I can actually see the energy flowing around that person. Why don't we interact and get that energy multiplied, right? Of course, entrepreneurship is one way, investing is one way, working in a bank one way. You could be in any profession. But you have to have that particular approach. That's what I'm saying, that the moment you appreciate this fundamental truth, that you cannot understand or know anything. There's so much, like I can speak so many languages because I'm always willing to learn these languages. Now my job is to learn Spanish and French and German in next 1 year. Because I want to learn. I mean, that's the fun. I mean, why do I have to play volleyball or maybe football on the small screen when I can learn language? That's the only
reason that separates 2% of top people who are doing something
extraordinary.
I don't know.
I mean, I do it because I enjoy it. I don't want to be in the top 2%. I'm okay in the bottom quartile. I enjoy learning a language. I enjoy every interaction with the person I meet. If I can help them, great. If I'm not able to help them, if I am able to appreciate them, great.
I know you must be very bored by answering this question, which I'm going to ask next. It's like, how do you see that in upcoming days where TransBank will save themselves in upcoming 1-2 years? I know you must be bored by answering this question to several VCs.
See, I think probably I want people in my organization to take that energy, spread that energy, spread the knowledge about compliance, start helping the enterprises, right? Learn, and also spread the word for learning, right? I mean, not because I saw 3 Idiots when I was graduating in my MBA days, but I think it made a lot of sense. You have Kabil bano, right? Success ki wajah mat bhago. You actually start developing these capabilities. It could be anything, it could be, I am from vernacular medium, by the way. I have not studied in English medium, right? So if you're not, then learn that language, right? If you cannot speak Spanish, learn Spanish. If you cannot, if you are an aspiring technology coder and you want to know about AI, we want our team to learn about AI, right? So we want to set up a very large learning organization also, because that will give a perspective and that will fuel the growth, right? That will get more and more revenues and more business, because enterprise sales is a different world altogether. You have to have domain expertise, you have to have a knowledge, you have to have integrity, you have to have trust. So my job is very simple. Just impart this value, build a team like that. Team will of course take it up and, whatever 100 countries, quite possible if you just stay rooted to these values. I don't think I have to worry about anything other than these 4 things.
So on an ending note, to every other young entrepreneur, because there are 2 sets of people, one who experienced the market, then they build something, one who wants to build in early times after 1 or 2 years of the graduation, something like that.
Yeah.
To them, how do you suggest on an ending note that what key factors they should consider before entering into this financial inclusion market or banking segment as a whole? Because this is people think this is a mindset. If I talk about, I have seen personally that it's a very crowded, or you talk about it's a very regulatory driven market actually. To them, what are key things they should keep in mind as an ending note to them?
And as I said during our discussion, that Gen Zs is the next powerhouse, and they're going to do some crazy amount of stuff. If you really want to stand out and you start respecting the the institutions or the people you interact with. People don't do that these days.
Exactly.
And they don't have the appreciation for the fundamental or most important part of sales. They think that, oh, I'll build a product, I will not build a sales.
I will hire
somebody. You cannot do that. I mean, ultimately that's gonna earn your revenue, and then you're gonna have bread after that, right? So you have to respect the sales process. Most of the guys I interacted with, some of them say that we don't want to do sales job or sale. I mean, they sometimes think that's a taboo. If you do that, then you'll never be successful, because even a CFO, technically sales is number to the board, right? Even the equity research analyst has got a job to do sales, right? So everybody in this market, be it technology, be it finance, be it operations, the core universal truth is sales, right? You have to sell, right? So don't have that feeling. And third thing, of course, that you look at compliance as the revenue or the business driver. Don't look at, building something on the arbitrage, on the gray area. It will never work. There is a very famous Rajnikant dialogue, it's in Tamil, which I always tell my team and my friends and all. Kashtapadame edum kadikyardu. Kashtapadame kadikyardu yennikum nilikadu. What it means is, without efforts, you cannot achieve anything, And if you achieve something without effort, it will never last, right? The movie is Padayappa. I mean, you have to work hard. You have to have these fundamental things intact. Otherwise, whatever you build is going to go away at some point of time or other. That's a very simple concept, right? Watch Rajnikant movies. I'm just kidding.
Thank you so much for being on this podcast, and thank you so much for sharing so much knowledge about this particular banking industry as a whole and transaction banking, because this is one particular segment which I have particularly not seen people educating others into the market largely. But with that, thank you so much for being here. And
Always happy.
Thank you so much. With this, guys, thank you so much. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode.